Hi, welcome to Counterpunch with Trevor Loudon, the show that exposes the ongoing world communist revolution. Like the show, share the show. We've got a limited amount of time to turn this around, folks, so please help out. Well, today's show is going to be for my brave anti-communist friends in South Korea, but it has relevance to everybody, I believe, who supports freedom around the world. Now, while many of us are focusing on what the Communist Party of China is doing, it's threatening Taiwan, it's threatened Japan, it's threatened India, it's really set to create major chaos that could spread all over the globe. But few are focusing on America's very important ally, South Korea. South Korea is in huge danger right now. It's in huge danger of either being invaded by the North or being drawn into the Communist Chinese Empire, or both. And all because of a bill that's now going before the US Congress. It's HR, House Resolution 3446. Now, what does this bill do? Why is it so dangerous to South Korea and the world, really? Well, because this bill would formally end the Korean War. You know, they stopped fighting in 1953. Well, that war has never formally been brought to a close. All it was an armistice, an agreement to cease hostilities. But the war is still officially ongoing. So wouldn't it make sense just to formally end this war that's really been over for over 60 years? Well, here's the problem. Pro-North Korean and pro-China elements in this country are backing that bill. Now, why would they do that? If that war is ended, it will mean several things. One, it'll mean the end of US sanctions on North Korea. That will mean a huge influx of US capital, US technology into North Korea. It will basically bring North Korea out of the Stone Age, so to speak. Think of Communist China. Before it joined the World Trade Organization, Communist China couldn't threaten anybody. Now it's a world superpower. Well, by ending the Korean War, it's going to make North Korea even more dangerous than it is today, and American money will help to build it. It also means probable withdrawal of 28,500 US troops currently situated in that country. That will open South Korea to invasion by the North. Now, the North has been long pushing for Korean unification. That doesn't mean South and North Korea get together and they all, live together in harmony. What it means is North Korea will take control of South Korea and impose communism on the South. And if it can't do it politically, it will do it militarily. South Korea's got two choices. If this bill passes and the US troops are withdrawn, South Korea is invaded by the North with huge loss of life, or it is incorporated into the Chinese Empire and is already halfway there. Now, people may think, well, what has that got to do with America or other countries? If China invades Taiwan, besides the huge loss of life and freedom that would entail, that is one of the largest semiconductor producers on the planet. Western industry would grind to a halt. Japan is already extremely concerned. What is Japan going to do? Start to build its own nuclear weapons? And South Korea will be lost as well. We could lose potentially all of those Asian allies. That would create problems for the Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, and India, and other countries. It would also render America open to very easy attack across the Pacific. Hawaii, the West Coast, etc. would be exposed. If South Korea is lost, it will create massive problems for the West, not just for the unfortunate patriots in South Korea who would suffer because of it. Now, there are two main groups based in America that are behind this bill. It was promoted by Brad Sherman, a Democrat from Southern California. But the idea and the impetus for it came from two main groups. One is called Women Across the DMZ, Women Across the Demilitarized Zone, which is the sort of buffer zone between North and South Korea, and KPAC, the Korean American Political Action Committee. Both have roots in the very violent people's and students' uprisings that rocked South Korea in the early 1980s, when South Korean communists, some say with help from the North, staged violent uprisings in several parts of South Korea, and they were brutally suppressed by the military. And a lot of South Korea's problems stem from that period. Another student radical who was involved in these uprisings was a man called Yoon Han Bong. Now, I apologize if my South Korean name pronunciations are not that great. I'll do the best I can. His name was Yoon Han Bong. He didn't go to jail. He fled the country and ended up in Los Angeles for several years. He started a very radical pro-North Korean group spread across the country called Young Koreans United. He also set up the Korean Resource Center, which still exists in Los Angeles, very pro-North Korean outfit. Helped to set up the Hana Center in Chicago and the Ming Kwong Center in New York. All of these groups, all pro-North Korean, and they worked together in a confederation called NAKASEC, the National Korea American Service and Education Consortium. And NAKASEC lobbies members of Congress. It works with people like Senator Dick Durbin of Chicago, Judy Chu of California, etc. It's very, very active, not openly North Korean, but it pushes programs that would benefit the North at every opportunity. Independently in New York, another pro-North Korean group was set up. It's called Nodatdol, Stepping Stone. It was run by very strong pro-North Korean radicals, many of them affiliated with Asian Americans for Equality in New York, a mass community organization that came out of the Communist Workers' Party of the 1980s. Now, Nodatdol is extremely pro-North Korean. They send delegations to North Korea on a regular basis. Here is a photograph, Nodatdol delegation posing with North Korean soldiers and North Korean flags. Now, these pro-North Korean groups, NAKASEC, Nodatdol, have worked closely together. They've established a whole network of pro-North Korean organizations across the country, such as the Korean Policy Institute based out of Los Angeles. A woman across DMZ's leader, Christine Ahn, is probably one of the most dedicated pro-North activists in the country. She's been at this for nearly 20 years. She was very involved in the Korea Peace Committee in the early 2000s. She's been working closely with Nodatdol. She's led delegations to North Korea with them. Here's a photograph of her in 2008 with the Nodatdol delegation at Pyongyang Airport. She's been to North Korea many times, and in 2015 she staged a major international stunt. She led a whole delegation of women, largely American but Canadian and European as well, almost all communists and socialists, in a big publicity stunt. She led this delegation across from South Korea through the demilitarized zone into North Korea, where they were greeted and got lots of photo ops. It was a big PR campaign which benefited the North Koreans. And they helped to organize this. Christine Ahn has been involved for many years with a man called Park Chol. He was a Korean diplomat working out of the Korean mission to the United Nations in New York, a long-time North Korean intelligence officer. Well, Ahn has met him in one of her early trips to North Korea. He helped her. He worked with her to organize the Women Across the DMZ March in 2015. She acknowledges that. She's proud of it. She tweets about it. Now, the Korean American Political Action Committee is the creation of a California businessman called Casey Choi. Casey or KC Choi. KPAC is basically an American lobby group for the Moon Jae-in administration in South Korea. Now, Casey Choi is very friendly with Moon Jae-in. They went to the same college, though I'm not sure if it was exactly the same time. Casey Choi also serves on the committee of the South Korean-funded National Unification Advisory Council, which in this country right now serves as a front for the Moon Jae administration in South Korea, and it has branches all over the country, and Casey Choi is the top man, and he is stacking these branches with people friendly to the Moon administration in South Korea. Now, Casey Choi is a big backer of House Resolution 3446. He is very, very close to Brad Sherman, who first moved the House resolution in the US House. He does fundraisers for Brad Sherman, also very close to another key co-sponsor, Representative Andy Kim of New Jersey. Casey Choi is super close to both of these individuals. Casey Choi is also close to several other H.R. 3446 co-sponsors. Here he is with Marilyn Strickland, a Korean-American congresswoman from Washington. Here he is holding a big fundraiser for the woman. She is a co-sponsor of this legislation. Here he is with Alan Lowenthal of Southern California and Judy Chu. And here he is with Katie Porter. All of these Southern California Democrats are co-sponsors of H.R. 3446. And Casey Choi is the guy marshalling them, pushing them, getting them on board with this program. Meanwhile, Christine Ahn and her ex-No-Dut Doll assistant, Hyun Lee, have gotten close to several far-left H.R. 3446 co-sponsors. They're extremely close to Ro Khanna. Ro Khanna is one of the most left-wing Democrats in the House, based in the Silicon Valley area, and he's a big supporter of Korean unification. He doesn't say it's on communist terms, but that would be the result. They've also gotten very close to Jan Schakowsky, another co-sponsor from Illinois, former member of Democratic Socialists of America, a Marxist group, and also to Barbara Lee of Southern California. Now, Barbara Lee has been involved in communist causes her entire life. From the Black Panthers, she was a member of a Communist Party breakaway group called the Committees of Correspondence. She's worked with Democratic Socialists of America, pro-Iranian causes. She is as far left as they come. She's been to Cuba 22 times. So it's not surprising she would sign on to this pro-North Korean resolution. Now, Christine Ahn is an extremely dedicated lobbyist. She'll get close to anyone who can promote the North Korean cause, who can help the cause of Korean unification. She's struck up a relationship with Bernie Sanders. He's got Bernie Sanders onto the peace in Korea cause. Here's a picture of her and Hyun Lee, her able assistant, with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she hasn't co-sponsored the H.R. 3446 yet. We'll see if she does in the future. And here she is with Tulsi Gabbard, the former congresswoman from Hawaii. And here she is with the special representative on North Korea at the State Department, Steve Biegun. And look, here she is. She's even managed to get a photo taken with former President Jimmy Carter, who has unfortunately lent his name to many left-wing causes since leaving the White House. Now, all of the 20-odd sponsors, co-sponsors of H.R. 3446 are left-wing Democrats. All of them except for one. They have one conservative Republican, Andy Biggs from Arizona. Now, Andy Biggs is a straight-up conservative. He is a patriot. I can only surmise that he is backing this bill because he sees it as a way of withdrawing US troops from an area he doesn't think they should be in, strengthening the US. I don't think he would understand for 1 minute that what he is doing is supporting a program that is designed to aid North Korea in its conquest of the South. So, Congressman Biggs, I hope your constituents get on your case about this. You need to withdraw your support immediately. Immediately, you give this the respectability it does not deserve. So the US Congress, pushed by pro-North Korean elements and elements supportive of South Korea's left-wing President Moon Jae-in, is pushing a bill that would basically leave South Korea open to incorporation into the Chinese empire or destruction by North Korea. This would have massive implications for Japan, Taiwan, Australia, New Zealand, India, all of our allies in the Asia-Pacific region, and would have massive implications for the United States itself. This is like surrendering France to the Nazis and never taking it back. This is like surrendering Britain to the Nazis and allowing Britain to be conquered and never taking it back. If you give the North Koreans and the Chinese South Korea, that will strengthen their hand immensely, and their goal is not just to dominate the Asia-Pacific region. Their goal is worldwide communism, and their number one enemy is the United States. Their goal is the destruction of the United States, and surrendering South Korea would make that destruction so much more certain. So I hope you will share this around, send it to any congressman you know, Republican or Democrat. any members of the South Korean community that you know, every American needs to understand the implications here. America is being surrounded by its enemies. They're toppling like dominoes, and we cannot afford to lose South Korea. South Koreans have fought very bravely against communism. They have fought in several wars beside American troops, including in South Korea. They deserve their freedom, and they deserve our support. So please circulate this as widely as you can. We need to push back against this horrendous legislation while we can. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope you'll tune in to future episodes. I hope you'll subscribe to the show. So I just want to say God bless South Korea, God bless America, and every other nation striving for freedom. Thank you so much for watching. God bless every one of you.